Losing someone we love is never easy. And my guest today is Stephen Macek, a gifted medium who I have personally used many times over the years, who has brought through my passed away loved one, Mark. And today he's going to share some stories about connecting with the other side, some inspirational messages for all of you listening, and even some tricks on how to manifest to create a life that you are in love with. Are you ready? I would like to introduce you as attorney by day, amazing psychic medium by night, also originator of the very cool radio series Through the Static,
Yes,
Stephen
yes.
Macek.
Thank you, Laurie. Thank you. And again, it's such a pleasure to be here. And really, that's the best introduction. I could just have you come with me around, and anybody that needs to meet me, I'll just have you, maybe like a doll, I'll press a button, you can just say that. So it's beautiful. I love it, Laurie. It's good.
So I want to talk to you about your journey because obviously nobody becomes a medium by accident. There are always a series of things. And actually, one of the questions I have is sometimes people, when this ability is awakened in them, have had some type of a near death or near death like experience, either in childhood. Did you have anything like that happen to you?
No, no, nothing like that. Nothing even close, Lori. But for the majority of my life, I had no idea I was a medium. I mean, I had 0% even like understanding of pretty much what a medium was. But I think maybe something similar, Lori, to what you just asked me about is that my dad committed suicide when I was 8 years old. And I think that trauma, even though that connection of being in me, that was like I'm very connected to spirit. I think it was just sort of pushed way down when that happened, because after my dad committed suicide, the following 3 months, and I was 8 years old, I don't have, and I still don't have any recollection at all of those 3 months, nothing. So I think, it was really something that was buried down deep inside. So I think that sort of, I don't know if it makes sense, but it sort of feels like it's similar maybe to somebody's path that maybe had a near-death experience, but mine was just a little bit different because they're both traumas, right? I mean, they're both traumatic.
Yes, first of all, I'm so sorry. I cannot even
Oh, thank
imagine
you.
the trauma
Thank you.
that way is so hard. Before we go into how this happened, I'm curious, do you ever connect with your dad?
I
So I
do.
think it would be so healing for people because suicide, in religion is a very loaded topic. And I think that there's a lot of people that have belief systems. So since you have the ability to connect to your dad, you obviously know he's somewhere. Can you kind of explain to the audience where you think your dad is?
Yeah, well, my dad is always with me, always. Every second, all I have to do is just think about him, and I can feel him. And as a matter of fact, just the end of last year, for the first time after I was 8 years old, I had a wake, and it was based on really my connection with my dad, of him just sort of, I don't know, prompting me or giving me ideas about, I was holding on to this anger because I felt like I never had closure at 8 years old. You killed yourself, and I had no way to say goodbye. And I don't remember those 3 months. So ultimately I had just myself and my dad. I had my parents' wedding album open up to his picture, and I kept touching it. And I in a long-winded way, I promise I'll answer the question. But as I was doing this, and I went through this whole ceremony, I cried a lot. I wanted to be by myself. And what was shocking to me, Lori, was that it was nonverbal, and I didn't think that was going to be the case. I thought I would start saying "dad," and start speaking verbally, or vocally. But I think as a medium, everything was mental. And he showed me myself as 8 years old, and that little boy sat on my lap. And then the three of us, the 8-year-old boy, which is me, and my dad, all put our hands together on the album, and it was closure for me. But I say that, Laurie, is because when I say my dad, when you ask me to tell the audience where he is, I could not have ever got to a place of knowing I needed to do that ceremony, that wake for me, unless my dad was with me every step of the way saying, you know what, thinking in his head, my son needs to let this go because it's blocking things, it's taking up space that he needs for other amazing things. So everybody, whether it's me, whether it's you, anybody who's listening to this, your loved ones are always with them every minute. And I'm not a medium to think or to say, well, they're not always with us. They have things to do. I'm like, no, no, no. They're always with us. They stand next to us. They're with us, and they can be in so many different places at so many different times.
Yeah. And I'm going to say, I don't blame your dad for wanting to be with you all the time, because you are such a great person who wouldn't want to spend their time if they could with you all the time.
Well, I thank you, Lori. Thank you. And I could say the same exact thing back to you. So really.
Thank you. Well, let's talk about, so you didn't have this recollection, you pushed it down when you were young. What was the first time that you realized, hey, something might be happening to me that's not, considered normal or considered spiritual?
Well, it wasn't that long ago. It was 2010 that me and my husband, which we're going on 29 years almost, me and
Hi,
Elix
Felix.
went. We went to see a medium, and my whole intention driving he was driving it in my head, Lori. I kept saying, Dad, please come through, please come through, please come through. I know there's going to be a lot of people, but I need you. I've never done this before. I've never been in front of a medium. And we sat down, and it was a venue of about 100 people. The medium explained how she was going to work and said, when she comes to you, she'll ask you your name and she'll ask you to stand up because she likes to hold your hand when, to feel the energy and to get more in tune with your loved ones. So she starts the reading. She comes right up to me, stares at me and says, what is your name? And I said, Stephen. And I'm thinking, my dad is coming. This is the best gift I could ever get. But she's not telling me to stand up. She's just staring at me and said, you're a medium and you don't know it. And she turned around and she walked away, never came back to me, Lori, never came back.
What?
And I looked at Elix, and about a minute later or 2 minutes later, Elix leaned into me and said, did you hear? She said you were psychic. And I always say to people when I'm telling the story, I said to Elix, I think she's psycho, because I am not a psychic. Like, I am not a medium. She's crazy. That was the pivotal moment that spirit then said, he knows. The light switch went on, and then it just opened up. And it was rough, Lori, though. It was, as Elix can attest, for the next maybe 2 years. It didn't start off right away, but over the next couple of years, as we started hitting the end of 2012, the anxiety in me was unbearable. I mean, poor Elix. I mean, I didn't know if I was coming or going. There were times we were in the car, Lori, and I said to Elix, pull over. I just need to get out of the car. This anxiety, what it was, and the best way to explain it was that it felt like thousands of hands of people from spirit all touching me everywhere, saying, you can connect, you can hear us, so we want to connect with you. And I didn't know what to do with the energy, so it was just flowing everywhere. It was chaotic. It was in and out, and thank God, at the end of 2012, Elix decided to, for Christmas, purchase or buy a 16-week medium certification to become a medium, home study. And that was my saving grace, because I started understanding what spirit was all about, and slowly it started making sense, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm going to do a little caveat to this, but you mentioned 2012. 2012 was a big awakening for the earth. It was the end of the Mayan calendar. It was where we were reaching the very furthest part in our elliptical cycle away from the sun. And that was the beginning. That year was the beginning of an awakening. And I think it's very interesting that you had your experience in 2012, and I also had the death of Mark in 2012, which was my spiritual awakening. And I wonder if there's any connection to that, but I just thought it was kind of a cool thing to mention.
That is, I didn't know that. That
Braden wrote a book about that, and it's fractal time, I think is what it is called. And he talked a lot about, it was just the whole entire earth was reaching this place where we felt the least connected. But at that moment on the winter solstice of 2012, we began that journey back to connection, to feeling more interconnected. And here we are about 3/4 of the way through that, coming back out of that connection, because it's, think of an elliptical cycle, and it takes a while to get to that furthest point, and then it comes back, and we're almost there. And look at how connected people are starting to become. They're talking about, I'm sure you see this, people talk in ways they never did before. They recognize soul connections. They're searching for something bigger. And I think that this is why it's such a beautiful thing to have you on this show, so that people can understand how to do it, because not everybody is able to connect on their own, and sometimes we need an interpreter. And so my personal experience with you, Stephen, I saw you on a show, and I had an instant, I will call it a soul recognition with
I
you,
love it.
because that's just how it works. And you blew me away. I mean, blew with capital letters away, because one of the things that you did for me, I don't know if you even know this, but you connected and began talking about my own spirituality and my aura. And it was a recognition and a confirmation for somebody else who had given me an aura reading. And it was really helpful in me being able to create ultimately what's led to this channel. And I don't think that you even know your part in that.
No, you know what, Laurie, what I do, and thank you for saying that. What I do remember though, is the first time I saw you, and it was maybe about 3 minutes into the reading, and then I just looked and said, this blonde chick is so connected. Like, what is going on with her? I mean, and then it just kind of like, unveiled itself. And, but that was one thing that, I knew right away when I started reading you. And normally, just on a side note, normally I don't speak like this blonde chick. It was in my head that I heard that from spirit. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was just spirit. But I remember, actually remember that, just saying, oh my God, she's so connected, and what she's got coming and what she's doing. It was pretty amazing, Laurie. It was great. And
That's so great. Well, one of the things that I really have admired about you as a medium is, aside from what you were able to tell about me, you have been able to bring Mark, my passed away loved one. And for anybody who watches this channel, I'm releasing 75 videos where Mark is the feature point of a lot of the things I talk about, because he's my connection to the other side for sure. But Stephen, you bring through his personality. So I have to ask you a question. Do you normally, I mean, I know you live in Boston, you deal with Boston traffic, but do you use profane words often? Is that like how you talk on a normal everyday basis?
I love this question. I love this question. And actually now
You know where I'm going with it.
Yeah, of course I do. But just over a year, we've been on Cape Cod now, which we love. We're not in Boston anymore. We're in Cape Cod. But in any case, no, Laurie, that's the most wild thing. And by the way, Mark is not just someone I bring through for you. Mark's like my bud. Like, he's my bro. Like, as soon as we start, he's here, right? But no, for me, and this is the God's honest truth, I have never been a swearer, or never. Like, even if I say like shit, I mean, I know this is YouTube and I can probably say it, it's just not something that it doesn't fall. I'm not comfortable with it. It's never been me. When he stepped forward, I'm like, what is going on with this man? Like, and he was just, I mean, the two things that stand out, which I remember with Mark, was the swearing and the ego. Look at me. You think you've seen nice looking guys in spirit? Look at me. I'm like, oh, this one's a character. Like, he's a character. And Laurie, the greatest thing about what I do as a medium is that spirit gets to show me what their personalities and what the energy was between, in this case, Mark and you, when he was in the physical world. So I get to feel that and get to feel him in spirit, but he'll extract things like the swearing, or look how nice looking I am, just to make sure it's really him, and shows that personality, right? That's what this is all about, is to prove to you, all they want to do is prove to you that it's them. That's how it works.
It's absolutely incredible. And I kind of knew that about you, because even if you did swear, you probably wouldn't be doing it when you're talking to a client, because you're an attorney by day and professional. And I would imagine that carries into it. And I never had heard you swear when we had connections, but Mark definitely loved to drop an F-bomb.
And he's done many times in the readings, just saying.
Yes. And so I think that that's incredible. It's one thing to say, I'm connecting with this person and he has curly hair and it's brown, and it's something totally different to actually bring through the essence of somebody's personality. And that is something that you've done in spades, not just for me, but because I've had such incredible readings with Steve, and I have sent many of my friends and family to him. And over again, I think the barometer of success is when people schedule more than one meeting after they've had one, they have to have another, at a later date. So what is your protocol? What do you think is a good time to connect with a medium? Because I think people can overdo things, and I think it might be subjective, but what's your opinion on that?
When people ask me that, because a lot of times will come to me and then they may even and a lot of times right in the session say to me, towards the end of the session when we're closing the reading, will say, how long do I need to wait? I want to book something else, or I want to book it with my mom or dad or so. And I always tell people that, it's different for every single person. Some people may never be ready because they just, they want to keep that connection with, if it's one particular person or many people in spirit, they want to keep that intimacy, and they just want to feel like, even though they may be sad because they're missing them, the intimacy is so important to them and they don't want to see a medium. I think that's probably, from my experience, the minority of people, but the majority of people, Lori, it's different for everybody. And my advice always is, you have to, I would say, just take a moment before you go to bed, take a moment, do 3 deep breaths in, and just feel your soul, feel what you're feeling. And you got to make sure you're ready for a reading. And you have to make sure that, even though I always say that my readings are always positive because they come from white light, there's never any bad things that are coming through. It's always a healing process and what you need to hear. But I just always tell, and if someone has already had a reading with me, I always say, at a minimum, listen to the recording and digest that, or listen to it several times, because there's things you're missing. Get that experience and don't jump to the next experience, because it's almost like you're dismissing your loved ones that are coming to you, right? They came and spent the hour with you, and they're giving you all these validations to say, listen, this is what you need to hear. I'm with you every second. I know what's going on in your life. I know what you need to hear. So I always say, just make sure you listen. And when someone says to me they want to, I want to surprise my husband or my boyfriend, I always say, a surprise is always great. I said, but just make sure the surprise isn't like whomever, sit down and I pop up and that's the surprise. I'll give them a heads up, because somebody may not want it, and that's probably the worst connection. It makes me feel very bad, and I'm sure it would maybe make the person feel bad.
Yeah. So can you share with us a synchronicity or synchronicities that you've experienced? And it can be a reading that you've had or something that has just blown your mind about what spirit is able to communicate to you.
Oh, Laurie, that's such a loaded question. And
I know it is,
because it happens in so many readings. One thing that I thought was really cool, and I love when people ask me how I became a medium, because I'm not the typical, and not saying that there's not others like me, because I'm sure there are, but I'm not the one that as a young boy saw spirit, right? So I always love saying that, because listen, as an adult, if this can open up to me and I can be at this place of either reading one person, or I've been in venues of reading 150 people, then it can happen to anybody, right? That's the great thing. It's like the people that are sitting here or maybe listening that say, I want to connect, or I feel like I am connected, but I don't know how to do it, or I feel like I'm blocked. It's completely possible. If you think it's possible, it's possible. But when I was first realized I was a medium, and I think it was maybe 2014, my uncle died, and I went to his funeral, and it just so happens that my best friend owns a funeral parlor, if you will. So, I felt comfortable because my best friend that we went to high school, his funeral home, we're still best friends. So my uncle was laid out in the casket, and the casket was open, and it was a small wake. It wasn't a big wake, but my aunt, who had already passed over, I was standing in front of the room. I wasn't anywhere near the coffin. And I remember saying to her, I could feel her, and said, Aunt, I know you were there. to meet Uncle. I know you were, because I know, he's been lost since, you've been gone, and vice versa. And I said, I can feel it, and I am sure you'll show me something to make sure you validate that. Lori, at that precise moment, not only did this happen, which I'll tell you, my best friend Paul and my husband Felix were just coming over to me to just make sure I was feeling okay. And at the same time, the cross that was up on the lid of the casket was open. The cross, which is a good sized cross, fell right into the casket. And I looked and said, and my best friend came and I said, Paul, the cross in my uncle's casket just fell. And he said, that's impossible. That is pinned in several different places. And then he looks at the casket and I'm like, look, I just saw it fall. So we walked over there and I explained to him what had happened. And my aunt, just to give that as a validation, and not only to validate that she was with him and thanking me for even saying that, but I think it was also just to say, listen, I want to give you a thumbs up. What you're doing, you got to keep doing, Stephen. And that was just amazing. It was something that, not only because it was my family, Lori, right? It was my aunt that did it. And then I got to tell her daughter, who is like my sister. We're cousins, but we're really like brother and sister. And I got to tell her, and she got teary-eyed and hugged me. And it was just beautiful. It's on so many levels. It was great.
Wow. And I think that that's the power of having a medium reading, because it oftentimes brings comfort. But I think another thing that it does is, when somebody dies, a lot of times we're holding on to guilt. We're holding on to guilt for either something that was said, something that was not said, maybe
Yes.
not getting the chance to say goodbye. So can you explain, through your experiences, how you have been able to relieve people and release them for what they're holding on to?
That's a great question too, Laurie. And this just happened maybe a couple of weeks ago. I was reading this woman first time, and I could tell as soon as she popped on, she had some skepticism. Her sister purchased the gift certificate or gift card for the reading, right? So we're going through and I'm reading her, and I kept seeing, at first I couldn't tell if it was a guy or a girl, but I kept seeing somebody just collapses. It's some kind of accident. And ultimately I knew it was a guy, and I said to her, I said, somebody, it's a guy, it feels like it's a dad energy, that he's in a place that he's not alone, like almost like a supermarket or work environment, and something happens and he collapses. And I said, he's bringing that up for a very, very specific reason, connected to you, almost as if I didn't get to say goodbye. Lori, immediately I could see, when she's a beautiful person, but she was very stoic. And I think that because of this coming in being skeptical, she was holding everything back and not giving me anything, right? Not even a nod, not even a smile, nothing, and saying, she made me work for it. But when I started telling her that, her eyes started getting watery. And she then explained to me that her brother was on the same, it was a construction site. He worked in the same construction site with her father, and the brother wasn't on this scaffold, the father was, and it broke, and he fell and immediately died, just collapsed and died. And he brought that up, and I got to share with her that you've been holding on for that for 30 plus years, that you weren't there, that you never got a chance to say goodbye. Should you have called him the morning of, the day before, you didn't. And that emotional, it was so incredible, Lori, that I could actually see it almost looked like bubbles, if you will, leaving her. And it was all that negative guilt held on for so long, that was all leaving her. And the greatest thing was that her father said, and I didn't say this to her because there was so much to say, but her father said, now look where her one of her auras is. It's like a brand new, it's like a baby aura. And that's because all this time she's been holding on to this guilt. It has been a place of taking up her energy, and now it's free to bring in the good, the beautiful, positive energy. She had just retired, and she's got so many great things ahead. That's what she needed. So 30 plus years of holding on to something.
Wow, what a gift.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Since you brought up auras, will you explain to everybody what an aura is and what you see when you're reading someone's aura?
So, again, it's different for everybody, but what an aura is, it's sort of like an extension of your energy, right? If I look at somebody and see a like perfectly round, like with you, Lori, I always see with you, just because of who you are, always see like it's an eggshell field around you, which is usually my symbol that, and let me make sure I translate this right. This doesn't mean that life is like perfect. All it means is that you've got, whether you know it or not, you've got a handle. You're holding the reins to your energy. Like, you're really good at it, and you can direct it any way you want. And then there's times that the auras are really, the energy field is really close to the person, which is usually not a great thing. It means that they're going through something, or they just don't have any idea about their energy. And the auras are all different colors. So each color, as soon as I see, for instance, again with you, I remember seeing, well, I don't actually remember seeing it, but I know because of who you are, I saw a lot of purples and greens, and that's a healer, that's someone connected to spirit, all kinds of different things. So it is different for everybody, but it's the healthier your auras are, which is really the energy, the more it's sort of like about 6 feet out from you, which is, it's in line with your chakras, which are also your energy centers. But I'll tell you, those auras are, they're defining, in the sense that if you get to, and anybody can read auras, you can see auras, but if you get to see them and read them, it instantaneously tells you what the person's going through. Maybe not in specifics, but whether they're having a great time in their life, if they're having a really bad time in their life, or they don't know anything about their energy, or it's just by the shapes and by the color. And I will tell you, the greatest thing about even starting to figure out your auras or your chakras, put your hand up in a dim room, and hopefully if the wall is like an eggshell or a white, you put your hand up and just keep it there in a dim room, and you'll start seeing, like, it almost looks like in a police investigation, when someone, there's a crime scene and they do the chalk outline, same thing with your hand. You'll actually start seeing this little piece that, like, it almost looks like someone is drawing your fingers. That is part of your aura. That's part of your chakras. It's part of your energy. So you get to see that. And it's first step to start reading auras.
Oh, I love that. That's really a great hint for people.
Try it. It's cool. And if you don't see it right away, and you may not, just come back to it and look. I guarantee you at some point you'll get to see it, and you'll see, oh my God, I see the outline. That's your second self, if you will. It's really cool.
I love that. So you mentioned energy, and you mentioned that the auras are affected by things that are going on in our lives. So you talk to spirit, you have your spirit team. What have you learned through all of your experiences that we can do to either raise or control or enhance our energy or vibration?
That's also very simple, because spirit tells me this constantly when I'm doing readings, Laurie. I don't get a lot of regrets a lot of times, but spirit that comes through and does want to share their experiences to help us, right? That they've already lived this life, they've already been here on earth, and they want to share what they can. It's always stop the negative chatter. Always the negative chatter. And there's people that I may start a reading saying, your mom, your dad, whomever, keep saying to me, just make sure you stop the negative chatter. And I'm like, I don't do that. And at the end of the reading, or a day later in an email, oh my God, Stephen, I do that all the time. I cannot believe it. I'm like, I know, that's why Spirit's saying it. It's so powerful, Laurie, that people don't get it. And, I think people don't get it because they think it's too simple. They don't, when I say something like when I teach classes and say, just changing that negative chatter, what you're telling yourself will completely alter the path you're going on, your universe. The negative chatter is just going to, like, even saying something like, I don't have enough money to pay my bills this month, goes into the universe. You don't mean to tell the universe, I don't have any more money, or I don't want any more money, or don't want more money, but that's exactly how it translates to the universe. I don't have enough money to pay bills. The universe, your universe, comes back and says, they just said they don't have enough money. We're going to make sure the circumstances stick with them that they don't have enough money. So that promotion is going to be thrown out to somebody else, or any other kind of like reason or way that they can get money. That's how it works. Just shifting that chatter changes everything. Then your universe is like, he or she, what is going on? They changed. Like, then your universe wants to help you. Your universe wants you to be successful. Every person's, but they listen to you. It's like you're a puppeteer. You're holding like a string to the kite, and the kite is your universe. And whatever you're saying, whatever you're doing goes directly up, and the kite comes directly back down and gives you what you're saying. And people don't get that. And I love sharing that with people.
I think
It's very
that's
simple.
so powerful. So what if somebody's going through something negative, and it's natural to be thinking about, oh, I don't have enough money for the bills that are coming in. How do we shift something when we're not living it yet? And how do you get over that hump?
That's another great question, Laurie, because, working in my focus as an attorney is juvenile court. And I work with indigent families that since I graduated in 2001, and I've been there since then. And these are families that don't have a lot of money. So when you're living it, I clearly can see people looking back at me or anybody else saying, yeah, that's nice to say. Listen, I work part-time. I've got 7 kids. Like, that's nice to say. I don't have time for that. I got to look for another job and whatnot. And if someone asks me, then tell me, like respond to that, Stephen. Respond to what I just said to you. I actually would say, but you have to understand, first of all, accepting where you are is a great thing, but it's accepting the things that you need to be grateful for. In one sentence, you just said you have 7 kids. Do you know what a beautiful miracle that is? You got 7 kids. And I know how maybe time can be so difficult and money is so difficult, but I will tell you this. If someone came up to you and said, listen, here's a key, and there's like 20 doors or 100 doors, and once a week you can put the key in and turn the door. If it unlocks, you're going to then have this opportunity to start you getting out of where the complaints that you have, the lack of money, the lack of whatever it is. But there's 100 doors. It could be the 100th. However, if I don't give you this key, you will never, ever get a chance to open that door. That's sort of the same scenario, is that you've got to start somewhere, and starting is the mental, the verbiage, the mental chatter you have. It has to start there, and you have to start with being grateful. And I say to people, you can argue with me until the cows come home, but how's it working for you? How many years have you been here? Like, you want to be in a better place, but it's not changing. At some point, you got to step back and say, could it be me? Like, could it, not just solely me, but could something that I could do differently change this? And that's what it's all about, Laurie. And listen, I've experienced it all my life with juveniles and families that sometimes have electricity shut off because they don't have enough money to pay. And I get it. I completely understand.
But I love that analogy. So it's almost a little bit like fake it till you make it. But I think you've taken that even one step further. If you imagine that the universe or whoever you believe in has an opportunity for you that's behind a door, and that key to opening it is that belief that you would be ready for that opportunity.
Yeah.
I think that that's just a small shift in perception for people to understand, okay, I could get myself ready for that. I might not be there yet, but I say these things to get myself ready. And then all of a sudden the key works.
Well, and the thing is too, is that, and if you don't have the key, it's never going to change. It's almost like if someone said, once a month I'm going to drop off a lottery ticket. You may not win. You may win $1 million. You want me to do that? And if someone brought that to somebody, someone would be like, hell yeah, of course, yes, do that. It's exactly the same thing. But one thing that I have learned, and I just put a video on my Instagram and Facebook account that this is honestly not a lie. I went behind my house. There's 22 acres of land, and there's a bench, a cranberry bog, that I probably, if you're not from New England or Cape Cod, you're probably saying, what's a cranberry bog? But in any case, it's a beautiful place to meditate. And even me as a medium, I still had never done this, Laurie. I sat on the bench, I meditated, and I then tuned in and said, I I already feel and know that something in nature is going to happen that's spectacular to me. But I went further and said, I will then start feeling what it feels like to see it, that it's already happened, like how excited I am because I love animals, I love nature. And then I'm going to take it another step further and be like, know that I'm getting back to the house. Elix is on calls. And when he's done, I'm going to share that with him. And I'm going to feel what that's like to say, look at this video, look at this video, look what happened. And then I'm going to go on my Instagram account and Facebook account and feel like, as I'm posting it, I can't wait to put this on. People are going to love this. People are going to love this. And not just that it happened, but what I felt that it already happened. I let it go. A minute, I hear geese coming. I don't know, about 10 geese, as loud as possible, came flying from wherever part of the sky and landed in front of me. You got to check it out on my Instagram or Facebook account. Landed in front of me as it was almost like slow motion. It was the most wild thing. Landed, and you could see their bodies just doing this right before they hit the water and just stayed in front of me. And I thought, because we're all energy, it works. I connected to energy, the geese are energy, all energy. And if you get that, then you know that you can get, as what I mentioned, Laurie, if you think it's possible, it's possible. And you know what happened? I finished. I ran up the path just like I envisioned, told Elix, showed Elix. Elix was like, oh my God, Stephen, that is amazing. Went to Instagram, went to Facebook, posted it, and then felt it. And it was amazing, Laurie. Maybe even as a medium, I had never done that and just thought, oh my God, this is incredible. But again, it's people think it's too easy. That's way too easy for that to happen to me. Oh, it's because you're a medium that would happen. And it is nothing to do with me as a medium. It's just to do with your thought.
Wow. Well, I'm going to post your Instagram and your Facebook in the show notes so people can go check that out.
I love that.
What you've just described is manifestation 101.
Yes, yes, absolutely. That's what this is all about. It's all connected to manifestation. And I just wished, if more people, Laurie, understood that if we're all energy, right, never dies, it just changes. But if we're all energy, that technically means that if you're looking for that great job in this particular building, say it's Amazon, and Amazon distribution center is 4 towns over. If we're all energy, all you need to do is connect, know that. Once you know that, put your arm out like this, and then just have that energy go right to that distribution center. You're there, and feel not like you want the job. Never say you want it, because if you want it, the universe says, well, we'll keep that person wanting it and never having it. Just imagine you already have it. Imagine you're walking in saying hi to everybody. You're sitting at your desk, you're doing the job. That's what the manifestation is, right? I mean, that's what it's all about.
It sounds like the most important part to that isn't just the vision, but it's the feeling that you put behind it to imagine it as if it's already happened.
Absolutely, Laurie, absolutely. It's both of those pieces. It's you just can't stop. And what I've learned and what I love is that keep going further. I had never done that. I had never envisioned the geese or something in nature coming, and then I had never went to the next step of getting to the house. And telling Elix, and then Instagram. The more steps ahead you go, the faster you'll get there, because you're already pulling that energy. You're manifesting. You're already there, and the universe says, we got to work fast. We got to get them there. That's what that works. Then you get a phone call. Then you get, you apply and you get an interview. That's exactly how it works, Laurie. There's no secrets. There's no, this person can do it because they're connected. This person can do it because they're this. It's not about that. Every one of us is energy, and that's what we're using, is the energy.
I love it, Stephen. I've never heard anybody say it that way. The further you go, the more steps you take, the faster it happens.
Of course, because again, anything you say, goes to the universe. I'm sure you've heard it's like a Xerox machine. It copies off, but the universe takes it literally, and it's almost like a wish. Going back to that example, if you say, I don't have enough money to pay a bill, then it's like you're saying to the universe, my wish is that I stay in the same place and don't have enough money, and that's where you stick. On the alternative, if you keep doing those steps ahead, the universe almost looks at you like, oh my God, they've got their act together. Like we need to get all our you know our I always say, like, it's a parade of people in the universe that are helping you. We need to get that band put together, and we need to where's the first step? We've got to, they're already 5 steps ahead. We're behind, and the universe can't have that. The energy won't allow that. So the universe starts manipulating and saying, the first step is get it here. And then before you know it, you're in that position. It's amazing, Laurie.
Does everybody have a spirit team?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Angels, a spirit team. What people don't get also is that if you were somebody that may feel like, listen, I'm in a job and I want to start my own business. I want to be an entrepreneur. What people also don't get is that you've got access to people that are in spirit that were the top-notch successful entrepreneurs out there. You call them in, and I think the way to explain that is that, and this is the truth, I have big plans to where I know I'm going, and I don't say where I want to go. I know I'm going. I'm already there, and I know what's happening. But I will tell you that when Betty White passed away, when Sidney Poitier passed away, I was the first. As soon as I heard it, said, "I want you on my team. You're entertainment. You're great with exposure. You're good people. I mean, from what I've seen, I want you on my team." I got 2 yeses. Okay, you asked, they're here with me. So
tell me why that works, because I think most people watching be like, well, I never met that person. Why would they want to connect with me? What makes it different in spirit?
Well, it's the same thing as, and it's something that happens all the time with me, Laurie, that it just happened 2 days ago. I was doing a reading and I said, your grandmother's stepping forward, and she got a big smile. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, you got 2. There's 2 grandmothers here. And she said, I do. And I said, oh, but it's Dad's mom. She's the one that's stepping forward first. And she said, I don't think so, Stephen. It's got to be my mom's. I didn't know my dad's mom. And I'm like, that's the reason why she's stepping first, because spirit in that particular case says, hey, listen, I didn't have the physical experiences, the love. I didn't get to hold you. I'm coming first. And that other grandmother that had that experience says, no, you're right. Go ahead. Just start it off. That grandmother will come. But that's the point, is that great grandmothers. I had a dog from the Civil War come through. The Civil War. I had a soldier from the Civil War come through. So there's no essence of time, and whether you know them or not. A lot of times when I do readings, I'll say there's a young kid who got killed in a car accident. I said, he's showing me your high school. And they'll say to me, he did. He was 2 grades up from me. I never met him. I didn't know him. In that particular case, they never knew them, but they stepped forward. They're like, I know her. We went to high school together. I want to step forward. And sometimes they may even say, I hang with her, just because she's got good energy. So I hang, and I tell people, and people are flabbergasted, like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I never even knew them. That's the same exact way, because one of the things that I've learned from spirit is that whether they're connected to you or whether they're not, they're just waiting for you to ask them. They want to help. That's what their whole being in spirit is that they want to let us know, number one, that we're loved, that they're still here, and number 2, if we can help, we want to help. We want to make your life better. And one of my mottos in my readings is that your loved ones want to make you better at the end of the reading than you were at the beginning of the reading. That's what it's all about. Right?
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I love saying that, because it's true, Laurie. It really is. And it's not, honestly, it's not about me. And it's not about any mediums or psychics. It's really about, just being the person that is able to hear them and give the messages. That's what it's all about.
You mentioned the Civil War dog. So I'm assuming from what you're saying that our pets have souls and our pets go to heaven also. So have you had lots of examples of that?
Tons. I'm not really sure I do any readings, or it's a very, very minority of readings that animals don't come through. I've had cats, dogs, horses, guinea pigs, rabbits. It just goes on and on and on, Lori. Rats, people that have mice. It's pretty, it's incredible. I once had a rat that came through, and you would think, who would have a rat? And this woman actually, I actually had the same story, but that's a whole different thing. But this woman said to me, Stephen, you're not going to believe this, that I actually saw it. She couldn't tell if it was a rat or a mouse, but it was injured. And she actually grabbed it, put it in a box, and brought it to like this wild center, wild, whatever it may be called, because she felt so bad. And she was so devastated that she did that, and then called a couple of days later and found out that there was nothing they could do with it. That mouse or rat came through to thank her. How wild is that? So yes, they have souls and they speak just like humans. Yeah,
I think that brings so much comfort to so many people, because sometimes we're attached to our pets even more than we are to people.
a lot of people, Laurie, a lot of people, and I've actually had people, I've had readings that say they just want to focus on their dog or their cat, and I've actually have done an hour with barely anybody else coming through except that dog and cat. It is it's a blessing. I'm an animal person, so it's a blessing. I get very excited when I get to do that. And usually, in my experience, when I have guys that I read, your mom's coming through, your dad's coming through, and they're very, very receptive and very happy. And then I'll say, there's a German Shepherd, and then the guys stop breaking down and crying. I'm like, an animal always does it for the guys, that connection they've got. So it's a great way to let people know that our animals are still here, and that we're going to get to see them, Lori. When we eventually, we're all going to go to the same place, our animals are there. No matter how many you've had, they're going to greet us just like our loved ones, our human loved ones.
You've given us so much to think about and to be comforted by. And I know that you do a lot more than readings for people. So do you have any courses or anything that you're working on that you want people to know about, that they can connect to you in a different way?
Yeah, I just actually put my first, again, because in the bigger picture, this is new for me. In the bigger spirit picture, I haven't been around forever. So I just posted my intermediate course, and within 24 hours, it was full. It's full, completely
Oh
full.
my gosh, congratulations. And that doesn't even surprise me at all.
Thank you. But I have done an introductory course, and I am working on that because I did one, and because I've learned so much more, I'm tweaking it so that, because I always think when I do these courses, Lori, that these courses are a dime a dozen. You can take them live. You can just get them. They really are. It's about the technique of the person who's putting it together. And it's not just about, here's the 7 main chakras. You can get that anywhere, right? It's about just connecting to people that take these courses to let them know that there's more to just the learning or the knowledge. It's so much about, it starts with the person's energy, the person's soul. That's where it's all about. And you said so many people are connected. They are. But one thing I found is that energy keeps changing. And when people say to me, Stephen, I was so connected and I feel like I'm in a lull. I'm not feeling anything. It's not that you've lost it. It's just that you've got to adapt to the new circuit, the new energy level, because it keeps moving. And the quicker you can adapt, the better you get in getting those connections back and those signs. So it's always there, right? We're all intuitive, every one of us. So
I love that. Well, so can you leave us with one last message for everybody?
I think if I was to give one last message above and beyond focusing on not that negative chatter, is that everybody that's here, whether human, trees, cars, it doesn't matter. We're all energy. The quicker, I always say, energy is your friend. I always say my energy is my best friend. Like, that's how I want to label my energy. The quicker you understand that, the quicker you'll get to where you want to go. You'll find your passion. You'll get to your dreams. If your dream is to find your loved one, like the forever person, you'll get there. You've got to be in sync and in alignment with your energy. But more importantly, you have to know that it's all possible, but it starts with you.
It starts with you.
Yes.
I love it. Oh my gosh, Stephen, Thank you so much for your time today. I adore you. You know that. And one of these days, I swear, I have seen this for a couple of years now. The two of us are going to be in Sedona doing a retreat where people are going to come and be able to communicate and work with both of us. I feel it like it's already happened. And after what you've said, I'm just setting that intention right now that I
I
already see
love
it
that.
happened.
I love that. And I am completely in alignment with you. And I'll tell you one last thing is that I do a ton of readings, and putting aside family, I think honestly, I mean, we've never even met in person. I think you are, I know you are. When we end the readings, I don't know if you notice or not, but we'll say, I love you.
You
I
do say I
never do
love
that to
you.
people. I never do that to people. I will say I'm sending love, a lot of love, because that's the theme to my radio show, a lot of love. But the difference with you, and I tell Elitz all the time, I got
I'm gonna
off with
cry.
I got off with my girlfriend, because you're the only, honestly, you're the only one that I say, and you say, we both say right before we're leaving, I love you. That never happens, Lori. So that's why this is going in such a great place, the two of us. It is. You know, we're our souls were meant to connect, and that's why we're doing this. So it's a great. I just got goose pimples when I said that.
Me too. Well,
Love it,
on that note, I love you.
I love you too.
Bye, everybody.